The Blackstone and Lustlife quests. Loading complete.
Hello and welcome back to the Blackstone Endless Side Quest. Doing all the fetch quests at the bottom of the Walmart bin so you don't have to. Today with me, I have, as always, Sucker Punch Kimmer. How you doing today?
Doing all right. I can talk finally, so that's a bonus.
That's something we'll get into in a minute here. And for the second time, we also have Lustlife. How are you today, sir? Even though you still have not managed to procure a camera.
I'm doing good, and I actually have a camera on the way in the mail, so should be here hopefully for our next recording.
Awesome. All right. Well, I suppose we should just get into the Sucker Punch Kimmer news. We did not record last week because the poor guy got sucker punched in the face. Kind of hard to
Yes.
talk when your face is twice its size.
Yeah, so pretty much I was at a flag football game, and the other team was losing really bad. And then some guy was talking shit, and so I started talking back because that's just me. His buddy
Competitive
came up.
integrity.
His buddy came up to me and just punched me in the face. No one knew it was coming. I didn't know it was coming. It just fucking happened. And then, yeah, I don't condone the violence, but he left
Especially during flag
looking worse
football.
than me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm like, it's flag football. Like, it's a league that we played in for free. No one paid money for it, so it's like, what's the point?
Well, going back to our competitive gaming, people get a little toxic. We've all seen gamers smash monitors and keyboards and crap like that when they lose a video game. So
True.
people get intense, and those are the people who probably shouldn't be doing competitive anything. So that was Kimmer's week in a nutshell, I guess, other than work. So how was your week there, Lustlife?
It was good. I got the new Mario, played that with my family, and I also got Spider-Man 2 for my PlayStation. Have not played that yet, but I am excited to start it this weekend.
Yeah, being a parent, scheduling game time becomes a full time chore trying to figure out when you can
Oh
play.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
for those of you who don't know, we all three of us play League, and we haven't even gotten together for a game yet because one of us works night shift, one of us can only play on certain days, and then me, I'm really busy. I work multiple jobs, so it's been kind of interesting trying to get us together. We were talking about doing 5-man runs of just doing like insane comps. I was telling Kimmer about
Yes.
my global and semi-global comp. Everybody runs teleport, although that doesn't work now with the new teleport. I really don't like that. The teleport comp before they changed it would have been really fun to have teleport on everybody. I also want to try a tank comp where everybody plays tanks. So you're just a giant unkillable meatball and they can't do shit.
That would be a lot of fun. Just no one dies late game.
Well, no one dies, and then they're like, we can't kill these guys, but they can't kill either. A friend of mine suggested that we should do just a wave clear comp and be as passive as possible. Like, don't kill the enemy team at all. Just go to the lane they're not in and just wave clear and shove the entire game. He said that
With
he
that.
tried. Was that?
I said, I'm with that. That sounds
Yeah,
fun.
he said that he tried it once in just a regular game, and the game was like 45 minutes long, but the enemy couldn't kill them. And they shoved so hard that by the time they got to the inhibitors, they just had 6 super minions every single wave. And eventually the
Oh
enemy
my
just couldn't
gosh.
keep up. So it's like having Sivir and Jin and Rise and God, who's a good top lane for wave clear? Fuck, I can't even figure it out right now. My brain's kind of
Darius
still
would be
starting.
a good one.
Darius would be
I
a good one.
think I think back in the day, me and Kim were in a game where people just literally had 5-man stack on one lane and shove it in, and they
ARAM.
got all. No, not even. Yeah, they did the ARAM style, but in the regular mode, and they pushed it in. They got all the way to the inhibitor, but then because they didn't gain levels, we ended up winning the game still.
Yeah. Little story for me. The most fun game I ever had was an ARAM in season 7. I got stuck on Tryndamere. and it was a 45-minute game, and me and the Jinx on the other team were the only ones doing anything. So the teams were just running into each other, killing each other. That's all it was. We were just like everybody was just feeding. And Tryndamere is notoriously shit at low level.
Yes.
And so I'm like, fuck this, I'm clearing the waves. So I bought myself a static shiv. And I'm like, okay, this attack speed is fucking insane. So the kill count at the end of the game was 96 to 54.
Oh my gosh.
The Jinx on the other team had 46 of those 54 kills. I had 57 of our 90 whatever kills. Because
my
once
gosh.
I hit level 12 with my attack speed and static shiv. Now this is on the old static shiv when it was still like the item to buy.
Yeah.
But they couldn't kill me. And then I would just one-shot everybody. I got 4 or 5 quadra kills. I never did get a penta because we had one guy on our team who was literally stealing kills. He would just sit off in the side brush and wait for somebody to be low, jump in, kill, and then jump back. Oh, he was such a toxic player because he got mad at me for kill stealing. I'm like, dude, I'm Tryndamere. If I'm not in the fight, what am I even
Yeah.
doing playing the game, right?
Right.
But that is the highest kill count game I've ever seen. It was glorious. I have a screenshot of it somewhere. If I can find it, I'll share it with you guys. But my hard drive is filled with stuff from. I have stuff that was written to a hard drive in 2001, so I'm a kind of a pack rat. But that's kind of it for the week recovery. So let's get into our little podcasty. So we're currently on the eve of the World's Finals, coming out tonight, 1:00 our time.
It'll be 1:00 your guys' time, midnight PST.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
midnight.
I'm actually going to stay up and watch that tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. Now we're going to do that for today's Two Fate, and I want to know because I know that these guys have each chosen a side. I'm going to start with you, Kimmer. How do you feel about Weibo and the Shy?
I personally think people are underrating Weibo right now. Everyone's on the T1. Oh my God, Faker's the GOAT. He's the king. He's going to carry the LCK to another finals. Listen, it's T1 and Faker in the finals. He chokes it every time, and he has for the last 4 or 5 years. Fuck T1, fuck Faker. It's time for the new GOATs to step in. The Shy is going to come in. He's going to shit on Zeus and show him who's really daddy. And I think it's Xiaohu, their mid lane. I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but I think it's Xiaohu is going to come in and show Faker who the real true mid lane is of League of Legends. And fucking, I'm just Crisp is going to out support Carrier. With his Renata, and that's probably the only thing he's probably better than Carrier. But we'll not get into that. But Crisp is going to carry this series just like the Shy. I actually think Weibo stands a fair chance because I feel like they're kind of like the NRG of China. When you doubt them, you know they're going to win. But if you think they're going to win, they're going to get shit on. Just like what happened against G2 in Swiss stages. They all thought they were going to beat G2, and then G2 came back and got the luckiest win I've ever seen in League of Legends history. But that don't matter. They still won. You know what I mean? So that's just my thoughts. They are the NRG of the LPL. You doubt them, they're going to somehow win the game or win the series.
Right.
See, the only reason why Energy didn't beat Weibo is because everyone had too much faith in Energy.
I had no faith in Energy. I was just proud they made it to the quarters. For NA, that's like the finals.
I fell victim of believing.
Same.
But still, it's okay. They lost to the world finalist, Weibo Gaming, who's going to win Worlds. I don't mind NA losing to the world champs.
All right, Lust, your turn to be grumpy.
Okay, so he's talking about the Shy more like the shit, Way shit, Zhao shit, Light shit, Crisp shit. They're all shit. That's kind of my Um, T1, man, I won't lie. They have dropped the ball. The two of their 5 Worlds finals. This is now their 6th final appearance. One where Weibo has never been. I know the Shy has, but and Crisp, I believe. But none of the rest have. Xiaohu, he may be the MSI god, but Faker is the world's god. But Faker's not even the player that I think is the biggest problem. I think Kieria, or however you pronounce his name, is the real issue because he is on massive form right now. I mean, Zeus, kind of like Zeus, he's just a god owner. I
More
mean,
like they shit.
what the fuck? Owner, it's in his name. He's gonna own them. And
Oh,
again, Faker, he's faking the confidence that any Weibo fan should have. Gumaushi, I don't have a good thing, but he's just the better ADC. Light, yeah, exactly. His name is Light. He's lighter than any other ADC in the competition. He was the worst ADC in quarterfinals. His team carries him. So we're just gonna have to wait and see, but I really do believe T1 3-1.
it's gonna be a Weibo 3-0.
I'm hoping for a 5-game series because we haven't had Silver Scrapes yet.
We've had one,
We've had
Oh,
one.
that's right. We did have the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and that was Gen G and BLG.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for my 2 cents, I think it's going to be a competitive series. I definitely agree with Kimmer. I think Weibo is being underrated because everyone's on the T1 hype train right now. At the same time, to be fair, T1 looks like they are on tip-top shape. Like if T1 loses, it's because they threw, in all honesty. Now, to Weibo, don't give Faker Orianna. Don't give Faker Azir. Don't give Zeus Rumble, and you have a chance. Because right now, those 3 champions, if T1 gets them, you are fucked. Like, Faker's always been a really good Azir player, but this year he's making more highlight reels on Azir than he ever has in his career. Like, I don't know what he's doing, but the angles he's finding, most players don't even consider. However, Weibo stands a very strong chance because they're all very consistent in their roles. T1 has been consistent at Worlds, but this year they have not been. So if T1 doesn't have their consistency, Weibo stands a very good chance of winning.
Yeah, I think that Zeus, I mean, shit Zeus is definitely gonna shit the bed tonight. I mean, if you guys think about it too, every time T1's been hyped to win finals, other than the time when they won as SKT, they shit the bed. So I think that it's there's too much hype going into T1 that they're gonna overwhelm it, and they're just gonna break down. Happens every year.
I agree with you, but the weird thing is, as someone who's been watching Worlds since, or not Worlds, but League since 2015, there's this weird magic aura about T1 this year. Last year they didn't have this aura about them. This year it genuinely feels like there's a little weird thing surrounding them, and it's not because they're in Korea. It's not because they're hyped or anything like that. You know, like when you're watching baseball or hockey or whatever, and you see a team that's always really good but never quite makes it to the finish line, and then you have that kind of like magic feeling about them. That's how T1 feels this time. And it's the first time they felt like this since 2016.
Agreed.
It's really weird, and I can't explain it. I've never been able to explain it. It's like, if you watch tennis, the first time that a Brit won Wimbledon in fucking 80 years or whatever it was. It's like when Tampa won their first Stanley Cup, right? There's all these miracle runs. They're like, okay, they're a good team, but they never seem to win. But there's just something a little bit extra special. And that's kind of what I feel like T1 has. And it's got nothing to do with the hype or anything like that. It just feels like because like for a narrative sake, I think T1, they're like, this is the last time we're going to play together before the team blows up because they've been in the same roster, for 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
That I think they're pushing a little extra hard, where I think, like, if I was to give a percentage to it, I would say it's probably a 60-40 split. Because Weibo should
Yeah.
not be underestimated. Because Weibo has proven time and time again that you give them a good team fight and they will mop the fucking floor with you. Like, this is a team who regularly contends against JDG. Right?
True.
So thinking that the fan vote when I did my pick'ems was 91.1 T1 favored. There's no way the games are that favored. That's just a fan favorite. That's all that is. I genuinely think it's a 60-40 split, and 40% is a huge win margin. I'm hoping for a 5-game series, and I'd be happy with either team to win. I personally, as a fan of Faker, would love to see him hoist the trophy one more time, because it's been so long since he's hosted it, and he's at the competitive height, because he actually looks world class this year. But at the
He's
same
the
time,
LeBron James of the LOL Esports.
no, he's the Michael Jordan. I would not compare him to LeBron
yeah,
James.
No.
The only reason why I say that is because he goes to a bunch of finals and loses.
No,
He's still positive, unlike LeBron, though. He's 3-2.
If you count MSI in LCK finals, he's dog shit.
But that's the thing, though, is
talk about Bruno.
There's always gonna be, the players who are great who can't quite make the finals. And I say Michael Jordan not because of how many times Faker's won, even though he's the only player to have won 3 world championships. But because of his humility. One of the photographers asked him to put a thumbs down for JDG when they beat him, and Faker's like, no. And then he was asked about it, why didn't you put your thumbs down? He's like, JDG played amazingly. We just happened to beat them on the day. Like, the guy is so humble and so respected. That's why people love him. Like, comparing him to LeBron James would be like saying, like it'd be like Double Lift and Bjergsen, right? Bjergsen would be Michael Jordan. Double Lift would be LeBron James. Double Lift always made it to finals, always lost it. Then he won a bunch of titles, but that arrogant ego and the running of the mouth would be him. And then Bjergsen would be the Michael Jordan of the LCS. Right? But Faker is the only player to win 3 world championships, and he won them back to back to back.
He didn't win them back to back to back. He lost to.
Oh no, that's right. He was 2014.
Yeah, he lost to Ruler in 1 year.
Right.
Won it back to back after that.
Yeah. So I'm confusing all of my. But either way, still.
So I also will make a small correction. Faker is not the only player to win 3. Bengi also.
Oh, that's right.
3 world championships.
I forgot Bengi won the 3rd one. That's right. Yeah. Because I knew there was a bunch of them that won 2.
Yeah, Bengi is the so a lot of people that use the world championships against Faker use the fact that he has not won a world championship since Bengi has left T1.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to sit there and say Bengi was the main resource, because let's face it.
I mean, the stats are adding up, though.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, and this is where
lie.
At the end of the day, this is where I'm going to end the conversation.
Okay.
Is seriously, if any of us was to play against Faker, would you beat him?
No.
100%. I'm beating the fuck out of Faker. I'm way better. 100%.
I would happy if our entire team ganged up just to get one solo or just one kill on the guy, right? And he'd probably still beat our asses, but having said that, I mean, in all honesty, I'm really excited for this finals. I haven't been excited in Worlds finals for a number of years, and I'm hoping it's going to be competitive. I don't want to see a 3-0 stomp on either side. I literally want to see a competitive series. If it's a 3-0 and every game was like come down to the wire, one last team fight or something like that, I'm okay with that. But I really hope it's a competitive series, because Weibo does deserve it. They have fought fucking tooth and nail. And at the same time, so is T1. I mean, T1 has had a really weird year. I'm not going to go into the narrative because the casters talk about it 500 times a day, but it's it's actually an exciting worlds, and I'm looking forward to it.
Agreed.
All right, so on to our next topic. So last night I went and saw the Marvels. I'm gonna do a quick little rundown of what I thought of it, but mostly I'm gonna kind of steer the conversation towards superhero movie fatigue and why people aren't saying. I have a lot of thoughts on this. This is my topic for the podcast. Um, saw the Marvels last night. It was different for a Marvel movie. I actually enjoyed it. Is it the best Marvel movie? No. Is it the worst Marvel movie? Not even close. I mean, Thor: The Dark World, Love and Thunder are substantially worse. Um, but the narrative right now for the MCU in particular is they are crafting their movies for the people who grew up with the early MCU movies, not necessarily for the fans of comics who've grown up wanting these movies. Now, having said that, they're still crafting the movies for the people who've been wanting these movies, right? Um, so the Marvels was actually pretty good. Um, I would say the last 5 minutes kind of pissed me off. It kind of shoehorned into to do more as they do, rather than it being a surprise. It was more of an expectation, and I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't watched as many of the Marvel movies. The last one I saw was Doctor Strange in the theater, and I did not particularly like that at all. I think they did Scarlet Witch really dirty in that movie. And then prior to that was the last Spider-Man movie, which was just a fun superhero movie. Um, I don't know if it actually added anything or took away anything, but it was just a fun movie. But what do you guys think? Are they trying to shoehorn in too much for the generation growing up? Kind of like the old Star Wars fans versus the prequel fans versus the sequel fans and all this nonsensical gatekeeping bullshit. Like, do you think that they're catering to the newer audience because it's easier, or because it's expected because they're the audience that's now growing up?
In my opinion, I think that they are just trying to push out content because, or at least for the Marvel, because they know how involved everyone was, especially going into the Endgame movie. They wanted to try to continue that hype, and I think that what happened was they forced too many projects too soon. Instead
Mhm.
of taking their time dropping one or two movies every year, and then they went from that to like 4 movies a year and like 2 TV shows all in one year. Like we used to get like maybe 1 or 2 Marvel movies a year.
Well, it was
Maybe.
3 a year is what it was, but they always had like an origin, um, a sequel, and then maybe like an Avengers movie or another side project. Because for a while there, it was 3 a year. Because you had like Captain America: Civil War, and then you had Infinity War, and like they. But the thing was, is they were actually like intended to build up, and I don't think they're doing the build up anymore. I think they're just doing the expectation, which is kind of the problem. The other fact too is movies are fucking expensive. I mean, it was three of
Mhm.
us last night, and we spent almost $100 going to see a movie with food.
Jesus.
Mhm.
Like, I can't be going to the movie theater every other week.
No.
Like, if you went
No.
once a week with just two people and call it $50, right? Just for an easy mathematical state, and you went every week, that's $200 a month, right?
Yeah, it's expensive.
That's that's $2,100 a year. So there's all these movies that are actually really good that are failing because no one can afford to go to the movie theater, which is why a lot of these movies don't get the hype that they need to, and all these problems with the revenues and what have you. And then you get the Disneys of the world who are literally trying to feed us as much as they possibly can. And I got to the point where I'm like, I'm no longer excited about the Marvel movies. I don't get hype. I don't even watch the trailers. Like I literally never watched Miss Marvel. I never watched Well, I watched the first season of Loki, and that was the last thing I watched, and I stopped. And that's because I like Tom Hiddleston, not because I like Loki.
Not trying to cut you off, but my opinion is I don't think much has actually changed other than the buildup, like you were saying. I honestly think that things are nearly the same in some aspects
Hmm.
because I feel like for most of Marvel stuff, like the first movie, the origin movie, was everyone's favorite. Then the second movie came out, it was okay, not as good. Then the third movie came out, it was like, eh. And now
Yep.
I know for like Avengers though, it almost went backwards because of how Endgame and stuff went. But the difference is like you said, the build up. Now, um, looking at, for example, Ant-Man, I know they're not the best collective at all, but the first movie pretty good, pretty solid. Second movie, third movie, from what I heard, I haven't even watched it, was awful. Like
Yep.
most people just generally dislike it. So I don't really feel like the formula has changed as much as even we're considering it. I feel like it's more so Endgame really felt like the end game for Marvel, and I can agree where there's just too much going on, and at this point it just is that typical, well, we know what makes a good amount of money, plus unfortunately with COVID and everything causing some issues, uh, and the ticket prices skyrocketing, like you were mentioning, and snack prices even going up. It's become so convenient just to put things on the streaming services, but the yield of return isn't the same. So, in their minds, they can put out crap and get
Yep.
away with it. So,
Well, and that's the thing though too is if you look at the DCEU, which they're rebooting, but they have the uh Aquaman sequel coming out, and I'm
mhm.
like, you know what? They were just starting to find their stride, but they took everything back. It's like fans didn't have a problem with the actors in the positions for the DCEU. They had a problem with the terrible story and the fact that
Yep.
lighting was fucking brutal. Watching those movies is like the fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Seriously.
and then you look at Marvel, they built everything right, and now they're just kind of tossing out stuff. But the comment I heard, and this is something I read before going to the theater last night, was, oh, they're just doing more female superheroes trying to be inclusive. I'm like, excuse me, the superhero world has always been inclusive. Fuck you.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and they're like, oh, well, this movie is just about a bunch of strong female leads. So,
Yeah. There's
like,
nothing wrong with that at all.
and that's the thing though, is like Miss Marvel is the newest character of all of them to hit the screen. Miss Marvel's only like within the last 10 years of
Hmm.
creation. And I find it fantastic. The problem I have, and this is just kind of a slight segue, is like you look at Ghost in the Shell, everyone's like, oh, Scarlett Johansson, whitewash, blah 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 blah. And then in the movie,
Yeah.
they had a legitimate reason for Makoto to be a white woman, and then they glossed over and ruined their own kind of exit.
Yeah.
So my problem is when it's a fairy tale, don't give a shit. You know, whatever actor, actress, whatever, don't care.
Agreed.
If you're gonna do a western, you have black actors, you have Chinese actors, you have white actors, you have indigenous actors, right?
Yep.
Tell a true story. If you're doing a samurai movie, you have Japanese actors. If you're doing a movie about the Great Wall, you have Chinese actors, right? If you're
Yeah.
doing a buddy cop movie in space, you have whatever actors have the best chemistry, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
So when they
So,
take a
oh, go ahead.
property and they change it, I have a problem with that. I don't care what it is. If you're making something that exists to make it more inclusive, that's a problem.
Hmm.
If you're taking something that exists and makes sense to retcon it, like you look at John Wayne playing Genghis Khan, like that was just fucking appalling, right?
Yeah.
If you're remaking Genghis Khan and you have, a Mongolian or an Asian actor playing him, I'm cool with that. But the problem I have is when they're like, "Oh, well, we want to have a movie, so we're gonna do the thing," and they're like, "Oh, it's reverse this, or it's too much of that. It's being shoved in my face." Nonsense. First of all, we watch movies to be entertained,
Hmm.
right? And I would 100% watch a good movie with a good actor. Like, you take John Wick, the name John Wick's pretty generic. That could be anybody,
Yeah,
right?
agreed.
But now that Keanu Reeves has played John Wick, if in 10 years they do a remake, and they do a remake with like fucking, I don't know, Denzel Washington, who, let's face it, would do the part justice because Denzel's a phenomenal actor. But now you're going to have people complain that they're reverse whitewashing. I'm like, no, it's still a racist piece of shit because you are taking something that exists and changing it for your own narrative, right?
Yeah.
And I don't care. I don't care which direction it goes. It's fucking bullshit. But going back to the superhero thing, and this is where my segue is, like, everyone's like, oh, Iron Man's a black girl now. No, that if you read the story, it's not.
Nope.
Her name is Ironheart, and Tony got too old to be Iron Man, so he found a successor.
Yeah.
100% agree with. 100%. That makes sense. It's not like, oh, we're going to go and cast, John Woo to play Iron Man. No. That's one of the reasons why the Mandarin was the first attempt was so sketchy. Because, like, first of all, you had Sir Ben Kingsley. Okay. Now, he has an unusual look for a Brit. And as the Mandarin, part of that character before becoming Trevor Slattery or whatever his name is, was fucking phenomenal. And the way they used him in the trailers, I was like, oh my God, that's the Mandarin.
Yeah.
And then they pulled that shit. I was so angry. Like, Iron Man's my favorite superhero. I have like 200 comics in my closet right now. I was so fucking mad. And the fact that you wasted an actor of his caliber in something so fucking stupid was brutal.
Yeah.
Then they brought the real Mandarin to life. I'm like, okay, so the 10 rings, I don't like the way they did the rings. It makes sense. But I hate the fact that they did it that way. Because the 10 rings are actually the rings of power. They sit on your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's a liberty you have to take when you take from, print media to live action.
Mm-hmm.
But where all this comes kind of as a head, just let me finish here, is they're trying so hard to appease too many people that they're actually missing out on telling the story correctly. So when you tell the Iron Man origin story, which has been told 3 times now, Iron Man was created in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Then when they did the cartoon in the 90s, it was the Gulf War. So it was in the Gulf that this happened. Then this time it was in, Afghanistan, that part of the world. Because Stan Lee said you always put Iron Man's origin in wherever the conflict currently is. Right?
Oh.
But the origin is always the same. He always gets shrapnel in his heart. He always gets a device put in his chest, an electromagnet, that causes him to create the arc reactor. But in the 60s when Iron Man was created, he was in Vietnam and he was getting a tour and they hit a trip line and it blows up and he gets shrapnel in his chest. But other than that, the origin is always the same. But he will always be an American white billionaire industrialist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Not wrong.
So when you take these stories, they have to be adapted as correctly as you can, which is why I'm glad that, like, although Yu Yu Hakusho looks like shit, I'm not going to even gloss over that. The actors they chose are about as good as you can get for live action. I mean, I wish they had found somebody a little bit bulkier for Taguro, but again, where are you going to find like a 6.5 foot muscle bound Asian Yakuza looking motherfucker? Right? So I understand that. But the guy they got, he looks fantastic. Like the way they've designed it and stuff like that, it looks good. I'm going to give it a try because I was wrong about One Piece. I thought One Piece was going to be garbage and I loved it. Live action was really good. So I am going to give it a try.
Give that a try.
But again, I think with One Piece is a great example for the superhero end of conversation here is that they did it right because they worked within the confines of the story. And One Piece is very inclusive because it's people from all over the world, right? I remember some people complaining that Nami wasn't Japanese beauty or whatever. I'm like, look at her character design. She doesn't look like she's Asian just because it's a Japanese face. But I mean, even the creator of One Piece says that, Luffy would be from like Brazil or, somewhere in South America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why he looks that way. So even the creator himself is saying, hey, all of these characters are from all over the world.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that people need to understand is we're like, as an audience, we don't need to be told what we like. We just need to be told a good story.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that over the course of the next couple of years, Hollywood in particular gets rid of this notion that you have to have a bankable star, but you put them in a shit movie. Like, there are actors and actresses out there that are so good that they actually make a movie better because they're in it, which is true. But
Mhm.
I mean, Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
He's too small.
Yeah.
He's too small. He doesn't look the part. He doesn't sound the part. Right. And then when you go to these superhero movies, oh, well, I'm getting all these female strong characters shoved in my face. Dude, Captain Marvel was originally a dude. And then Carol Danvers came along and she took over the mantle of the Nova Corps. I think it's the Nova Corps. I can't remember. My comic book history is rusty right now, but she took over and she's this all-powerful fucking superhero. And that's what they went with because that's the most familiar. It's like the Guardians of the Galaxy. That iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy was like the 4th or 5th iteration of it, but it was the most
Mhm.
popular and long-running iteration of it. So
Yeah.
that's what they went with. But you know, like, I don't know, like they're continuing the narrative. Disney is never going to stop trying to make money. I would not be at all surprised if they decide to buy One Piece next year, just cause.
Yeah.
You'll have you know One Piece crappy
Mickey
CG.
Mouse.
Yeah, it'll be like
Well,
Kingdom Hearts.
I do know that they are revamping their entire Marvel kind of thing,
Yep.
and they're only dropping one movie next year, and that movie's Deadpool 3.
Yep, which got pushed
So
back
I'm
because they were only halfway
excited.
done.
I'm so excited. I don't even care if it's bad. I just love seeing uh
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, thank you. I love seeing Ryan Reynolds reprise that role because there is no better actor that could have been picked in my opinion.
Well, I
He
mean,
just
even in the comics, they're like, "Oh, you're just like Ryan Reynolds."
Yeah, yeah. That's such an awesome thing. I mean, he does sarcasm so well and it's just such a perfect thing. Like I didn't even think Deadpool 2 was as good as the first one, but I still thoroughly enjoyed the performance because he puts so much effort into that character
Yep.
and it is his. It's kind of like the same thing with John Wick, realistically replacing somebody to play John Wick doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Just
Well,
like replacing, you know.
well, it's like my wife and I were talking because the MCU is planning on bringing the Fantastic Four and the mutants into the
Hmm.
MCU fold, right?
One sec. Can I say something on the
Go
Fantastic
right ahead.
Four? The rumor is, and I think it's confirmed, that Pedro Pascal is going to be Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that, but we can save that for a different pod.
Well, okay. So two notes on that. So I'll continue my vein of thought, and then I'll get on that one. First of all, I think that my wife asked me, well, who are they going to do for the X-Men? And I'm like, well, I mean, Patrick Stewart is kind of the legendary Professor Xavier, right? You can get James McAvoy to do it, but it's also a case of, what is the fan favorite? But I mean, Patrick Stewart's in his 80s now. You don't know how long you have with him before you'd have to end the character. So you recast, and you doing a rebrand and bringing into the MCU, it makes sense to be the perfect time to do so.
Yeah.
Who it would be, I have no fucking clue. I've got nothing. As for Pedro Pascal, I am of the thought that Fantastic Four, which was one of the most popular Marvel franchises up until fucking they screwed it up with the movies,
Yeah, you can
is
say that again.
they have fucked around with the Fantastic Four in the last 20 years so much that it is a shadow of Thor himself. Nobody wants to read the Fantastic Four. Nobody wants to follow the Fantastic Four. Everyone wants it done right. Everyone wants it done justice. So I think John Krasinski did a really good job in Doctor Strange as Reed Richards for the 2 minutes of movie screen he had, I guess, or whatever. I think he did
Yeah.
all right. But seeing Pedro Pascal being cast as it, I kind of like what we were talking about before, the inclusivity and touching on things that you probably shouldn't. I think this one I might give a little bit of a pass for the sole fact that Pedro Pascal in Game of Thrones proved that he can be a stoic, calm demeanored, very intelligent person. So if the script is right, I think he might be okay. However, having said that, Disney is taking a chance on a very talented actor who the fans might reject because fans are racist as shit.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
I don't know how I feel about it. I'm of the mind, because I quite like Pedro Pascal because he doesn't have an ego. He's a very humble person, that I'm willing to give him a chance. But I'm going to give him a chance. I mean, how many movies have we watched where the actor is perfect for the role and the movie fucking sucks because the studio doesn't know how to write a script, or they went in and they fucked around with the original script and it's the shadow of its former self, right? Like you look at
Yeah.
Wolverine Origins, the movie is fantastic. It's one of the best origin stories movies ever until the last 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You cut out that last 20 minutes and go, oh, cliffhanger. Then all of a sudden you have a
Yeah.
fantastic origin story.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Agreed.
So, I mean, got to go there, right? I sorry, I kind of ended up going off on a tangent. I apologize.
No, that's
You're
all.
okay.
So,
Take
Mr. Lustlife wanted to talk about, on the same vein of oversaturation and too much of the Call of Duties, FIFAs, modern warfares of the world. So my question to you is, did you want to talk about, are they just like a giant ass cash grab, or the fact that they're not actually sequels, they're just more DLCs every year that you pay full AAA price for?
It's a little bit of both. It's a cash grab and also the DLC because, like, mm, excuse me,
As you
sorry.
die?
Yeah, as I'm dying. Anyway, from what I read on the reviews of the new Call of Duty that just came out, and I was originally excited because the game basically promised to go back to almost its origins of Modern Warfare, and that's what Modern Warfare 2, the second Modern Warfare 2, which is also really frustrating. Like, there's no creative titles seeming to come out with the new Call of Duties. Um, Specifically, they just are like, well, these were popular back in the day. Just slap the same title on it, no one will notice, kind of deal. And it's really frustrating because they keep promising to go back. And I'm not saying that they should create the same game, but it doesn't have that same feel. Now, I won't lie, I enjoyed Modern Warfare 2. It wasn't a bad game by any means. Was it as good as the old school 360 PS3 days? No. But I don't think you're ever going to quite reach those heights even with the new technology, because the difference is they're not new concepts anymore. They're pretty old, and the problem is, you know, if you make it too new, the old school fans are going to hate it. And if you make it too old, the new school fans are going to hate it. So finding that balance can be tough, but they can't even seem to make it good enough to not make it feel different every time they release a new one. From what I read on the reviews for Modern Warfare 3, is it basically is just a DLC and there's no reason to even purchase it. Um, and I'm not saying all reviews are right, but when you have the critics and the audience virtually agreeing on the same thing, that's never a good sign. Versus, like, and I'm only bringing movies back into this. The Mario movie is a prime example. A lot of critics hated it, but the audience loves it. And I agree with the audience. I think it's a lot better than the critics give it credit for. Is it the greatest movie of all time? No, but it's entertaining. It's exactly what was promised with the trailer. It's for the kids, and it is, you know, what we were told it was going to be. Versus a lot of these video games, and FIFA is a huge prime example. They actually take more away than they add when they sell the next game. FIFA used to have the ability to play legendary teams and just open play, for fun against your friends and stuff. Or if you wanted to make your own tournament, but because that doesn't make them money, they said, nope, we're yanking it out and adding more to our ultimate team and making this more pay to win. Now, FIFA may still have a skill element to it, but the problem is um, for example, if you put an average player versus another average player against one another, but give the average player an ultimate team with 5-star rating versus another average player with a 3-star, if their skill level's about the same, the player with the 5-star is going to win more often than the player with the 3-star because they were able to spend more money on FIFA. And it seems like a lot of games are hitting that problem of, well, if you have more money, you're almost guaranteed to be better than so and so, even if they understand the game better than you. So,
Yep. Well, and this is one of the problems that's kind of become relevant, or not relevant. Can't even talk. One of the problems that's become very relevant in the gaming world is the pay to win, and it seems to be EA's of the big companies is holding on to that process because that's where all their money comes from. So, Kimmer, I got a question for you. As somebody who's played a wide variety of games, for Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, all those kinds of games, would it make more sense to do like the Overwatch model and go free to play and have DLCs that are just automatically added to the game and have the money through their cosmetics, through their skins, through their guns and stuff like that? Or do you think it's good to keep a game out every year? I mean, personally, I think if you're going to do a release, you should do it every 2 years so you can actually update the game. But what do you think about the free to play games that take their money for cosmetics and the devs can just add and take away things as is needed?
Well, I mean, if you look at Fortnite, I think that's the biggest takeaway from there. There's so much you could do on Fortnite, cosmetic wise. There, you can literally go and make your own creative maps. You can play different games literally in Fortnite itself. So there's ways to do it. I just think Call of Duty is stuck in that resume of the old school, just kind of like Apple products and phones, or
Hmm.
there's a new iPad every year, new iPhone every year. There's something new every year, and they have to pay a lot of money for it. But like Fortnite, they just brought back OG Fortnite. Back when it first fully dropped, and it's bringing a lot of fans back in, and it's free because why would who wants to pay for a game uh that you know might not get another update. You don't know. With
Hmm.
Fortnite, at least they're going to update. But the game's been free, and it's been successful through the cosmetics, through just the content itself. There's literally been concerts inside of Fortnite. So it's like, there's ways to do it. Call of Duty is just doing it wrong.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I mean, if you're going to buy like a AAA title, and I know this is a bad example, I'm going to follow it up with a good example, but you look at like Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate. Both games are, AAA games, and then they just get updates. And then we are promised an expansion for Diablo 4. Now, I personally don't own Diablo 4. Um, I was going to buy it, and then I waffled on it, and then I haven't bought it yet. I've been a long time Diablo player since the first one, way back in '96. But when you look at these games, if you're not going to update them and you're not going to maintain them, and you're not going to do expansions, which is really what the Modern Warfare Call of Duties of the world should be doing, is you release Modern Warfare 3. Okay, Well, now we're going to do $20 expansions for the next 2 or 3 years while we enhance the game. Rather
Mhm.
than using the same game engine with a new skin for your guys and maybe a map or two. Like I know it's not that basic, but the consoles can handle updates now because they're basically small PCs. They're gaming PCs now. You don't have to have physical cartridge, so you're no longer limited by, a CD only holds 700 megs and compressions, all that kind of stuff. So I really wonder why they stick to that model. Whereas at least with FIFA, I can kind of understand because they're doing it per season. So they're trying to update the teams and stuff per season. But I mean, even then you could have the game be, released in 2023 and then 2025, the new full game drops. But for 2024, you have a season DLC update for $20, right? So you're not actually like, I don't know, augmenting the game. But I mean, to be fair, EA is kind of the shit company of, you know, giving the fans what they want and then charging you an arm and a leg for it. I was looking the other day. Apparently, if you want to play The Sims 4 with every single add-on pack to it, but you don't want to pay for their monthly subscription, which if you're going to play The Sims, you might as well, because you get all of or some of the update packs for it or whatever. I think The Sims is like $1,000 to buy every single update pack for the game. Like I have
Mhm.
pets, I have work, I have like, okay. Their business model is just like, and The Sims 4 came out what, almost 10 years ago now?
Yeah. It's been
Yeah,
out
it's been
for a
about
very
10,
long
12
time.
years.
Yeah. Like at least with like, you look at Grand Theft Auto. Okay, so they've released multiple updates for free to keep the fans interested. The game is 10 years old, right? And they have updated it constantly. And the way they make their money is by people buying currency for multiplayer. It's by their battle pass system and all that kind of stuff. And they have made a killing because they were the best selling game of all time for like 5 years or something after the game released,
Mhm.
right? Um, the fact that they treat their staff like garbage is neither here nor there, but you look at all these companies grubbing for money. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, I don't get it. And as fans, we really shouldn't be giving them our money. Like Modern Warfare 3, somebody should set up a private server and be like, okay, we're going to pirate your game now because you guys fucking suck. Well, what do you
Yeah.
want? How about you listen to what we want? This is one thing Path of Exile, Grinding Gear Games, does really, really well. They are so engaged with their community. They'll do a league, and the fans will be like, oh, we love this. Great. Here's another update, fix some bugs. Oh, we hate this league. Oh, shit. What did we do wrong? Okay, let's work with you guys. How do we balance this? Like, what's wrong with it? Is it too hard to do this? Is there not enough, rewards in this? Like, how do we fix this? And within
Mhm.
2 weeks of a league dropping, if there's a backlash from the community, they're working on actively fixing it. Or they'll say, okay, well, the league mechanic for this league, you guys don't like. Fine, we're not going to do this again. What ideas can we work on for next league so that you guys are happy to play our game? They are one
Right.
of the most active with their communities that I've ever seen. And developers really should take notice because Blizzard got fucking flamed into the ground because of Activision's poor direction. And the fact that Microsoft owns them now says we're not, like, the Xbox CEO walked in and he's like, we're not changing anything. I want to get to know you guys. I want to get to know your games. And they've been actively reaching out to former Blizzard devs who left the company because they weren't being treated properly. Say, hey, do you want to come back now that we're under new ownership? So they're trying to sort of catalog Blizzard's active library and Activision's active library. So I'm kind of hopeful that Activision, the second most hated gaming company in the world, is going to come back. I'm hoping.
Mhm.
Fingers crossed. I'll believe it when I see it, of course. But as somebody who grew up on, Warcraft 2, and StarCraft, and Diablo, like it was like they were the best games on the market. They were always polished. Oh, we're delaying it. Why are you guys delaying it? The game's not ready. Well, we want the game now. No, we will not release a shitty game that we're going to patch out later. We're going to
Yeah.
release a proper game. And the only real problem Blizzard has ever had are server issues. Up until D4. And D4, they even admitted that their balancing was fucking terrible. But you look at what EA is doing with the Call of Duties and shit like that. Slapping a new sticker on every year is a bullshit dick move. I mean, there's a reason why. Was it Call of Duty 2? That was like the main Call of Duty esport for fucking like 10 years before they finally moved on to one of the newer ones.
Yeah. I
I'm
think
not sure.
I think you are correct.
Yeah, there was one of the Call of Duties. Like I'm not a Call of Duty player. I'm not a first person shooter player to begin with. But there was one Call of Duty that was like the main esport for that vein of games, or maybe it was CS:GO. Might have been CS:GO. Where it was just like 8 years, but all the new games were not the iterations they were playing as pro. And then finally, just a year or two, they updated it, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, sound off in the comments below. So that's pretty much it for us this week. I am going to do my 90s gem, for anime. Do you guys have any recommendations for anime of old school stuff that people might not have seen?
Not old school, but if you haven't watched Ragnar Crimson yet, go watch that because this show is phenomenally good. It's gonna win Anime of the Year. Holy shit!
High Dive
Not
is actually getting shut down too.
Who is?
High Dive.
Oh yeah, High Dive in
Yeah.
the
All
all
but
regions except for USA, Canada, UK. And
Australia.
there's like, yeah, as I said, there's like 2 more. They're not shutting
Well,
down. And other than that, they're shutting down everywhere else.
it's the UK because it's the other countries listed were Ireland, Scotland.
Oh, okay.
But it's the UK as the whole, and then Australia. So a lot of people are going to be VPNing over to the US.
Yep.
I have not watched Ragnar Crimson yet. I have been trying to catch up on so much anime. What about you, Lester? You got?
So not old school, but I really enjoyed it when I watch it. It's Eureka or Eureka 7. I really, really would recommend it, especially if you want to cry, because it's a very emotional anime.
Let's see. For me, I'm gonna go with something that's just like a chill anime because we got a very intense brand new anime. We got a very emotional anime. So mine is actually a 90s gem, and that is The Slayers. So The Slayers is a 90s anime. It's a magic fantasy anime. It is one of those ones that you do not take seriously. It is literally just like a chill anime. It's funny. It has some emotional stakes in it. The second season is still by far and away the best. It's another Megumi Hayashibara anime. She sang the openings with it. It's also where Lisa Ortiz, who is an American, well, Puerto Rican voice actress, for a long time in the 90s and 2000s, whenever Megumi Hayashibara had a part, Lisa Ortiz kind of was the American counterpart for it. And it's a really, really good anime. It's nice and chill. Last I saw it was available on Crunchyroll. But being in a different country, I don't know what you guys have, what I don't, and vice versa. So I know the rules are always changing, much like Netflix might have something here but not down there and all that jazz. So give the Slayers a chance. The soundtrack for J-pop is fucking bomb. It's so good. I've been listening to those openings for 25 years.
Nice.
So older than Kimmer.
Yeah. Not wrong.
So for those of you who don't know, Kimmer is early 20s. Lust is late 20s. And I am
like 82.
Dude, I'm in my 40s.
Lustlife like 80 something.
What the hell? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like 82. I'm really Kimmer's dad.
Yeah.
82, I'd assume you're a grandpa unless you're a very active grandpa.
You know,
shit happens.
Fuck around and find out.
That's a Gen Alpha, Gen Z thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for us this week. I know we kind of went off topic on tangents. I hope we like our little chaos goblin. hopefully next week we will get to see Griff on camera and not the top of Kimmer's head. Kimmer's playing games on his phone. He's really, really tired. Poor guy works night shift and we're catching him first thing in the morning. So we're going to let him go to sleep right now because I'm pretty sure he needs to nap.
Yeah.
And remember, T1 over Weibo. Woo!
Weibo Gaming.
League of Legends. Woo! No, the winning team of Worlds is always the same team. It's the broadcast team. The English broadcast team, fucking goats. They're so good. Just mwah.
Agreed.
And that ref at Korea, fuck, he's awesome. that head ref, and his English is stupid good too. I don't know if you guys saw the coin toss. It's good.
I have not.
All right. Well, you have a good one. That's us from the Blackstone signing off, and we will see you in the next one. Cheers.
Peace.
Bye.